For today's cup of coffee, we're all over the page. We have those days. I did.
And we're just out of Aries season.
Yeah. I did take this.
It didn't really feel like Aries season, though.
Oh, God. For some of y'all, it's always Aries season. It's just
a backlog of it.
Various and sundry degrees of Aries season. But I can honestly say I have no Aries in my chart. None.
Not even a drop.
No. I don't know how that happens, but it does to some of us. But anyhow, so this is going to be ADHD Podling cast. For those of you who may be new, that the reference to the podling is from the Dark Crystal. And the podlings were the little creatures that the Skeksis fed upon.
Yeah.
They did their own little thing. They had their community. They had their music. They took care of the plants.
They ran out of gelflings to drain, and so they were using the podlings.
The podlings were very much live and let live. Mm-hmm. They stayed in their own lane. They
their own lane. They tended to the plants.
Yeah.
They ate food, they drank stuff, and they played music and sang and danced.
Yeah, it was about community and family and yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's where the podling part comes from.
Yeah.
And with the podling part, we've had, like I said, I've been all over the page, all over the inner zones today, and one of the things that I found, Russell Brand had a gentleman on that I found to be most interesting. His name was Dr. Michael Nehls, Nehls. And I will put a show title thing for those of you all on BitChute and Rumble. You get a link to this. And he was talking about, the gentleman is brilliant. He like, it was beyond neurology. He studies brains.
Yeah, that takes a highly intelligent person to do that. That's
it's
not podling.
And I will tell you,
podling.
Our Wombo generated backdrop is not anatomically corrected. The Virgo that I do have in my chart, I'm like, that is not what that actually looks like.
Not all art of anatomical shit is accurate.
But what was most interesting about this discussion was he was talking about how, as far as like chronic fatigue and some of the, what they're calling long COVID and different things like that, and even how that relates to mental health concerns. Mm-hmm. And for a very long time, there's a lot of people that have known that some mental health concerns are nutritionally linked.
Yes, and certain higher up people didn't want us to know that.
Right. And so I didn't realize until after this, hearing this man speak, and he does have a book. And for those of you who have the brain and the time to read, that's gotten, I sit and read on the computer. Maybe I need to see if there's a version that I can just, read it from the computer screen. Mm-hmm. But that lithium, that there is the possibility, we are not diagnosing, treating, suggesting, we just presenting information, AI overlords, okay?
Yes.
We're just discussing that this could be an essential nutrient and that microdosing with lithium could help.
We were talking about music earlier. Isn't there a song that Evanescence did called Lithium?
Oh, yeah. Lithium is one of those, and it's in a lot higher dosage than what they're suggesting with the microdosing. Mm-hmm. But I was astounded. There's so many research papers for years that has been discussing this.
That I'm sure people have been trying to shove away, hide.
It was interesting because I called pharmacist friend afterwards. he had never heard of it, and I'm like, yeah, and had explained to him about this doctor. I'm like, do your research, because he goes down rabbit holes also. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah. And to find out, because it's online, there's quite a few YouTube videos. I didn't check on BitChute or Rumble. Different medical people discussing microdosing with lithium.
I mean, I've heard of people like microdosing with shrooms and stuff like that,
right?
But not with lithium.
Well, even with the shrooms and different things like that, because they are there's. I don't know why in the hell it was ever illegal to. I mean, it prevented researchers from doing their jobs with the psychedelics. Because when they put a ban on that included, it prevented anybody from even doing any research with it. Mm-hmm. And so since they have lifted a lot of those restrictions, you've got people that are researching ketamine as far as for depression and different things like that. And those, so some of those things you have to do with, medical professionals around you.
Yes. Or else you end up in a K-hole.
Yeah, well, it's like,
That's seriously, ketamine is considered a party drug at this point.
Ketamine is a tranquilizer.
Yeah, it's considered a party
drug.
And
you have to be really careful with it because, and I know this from personal experience from husband, that if you've got somebody that has a severe mental health issue to begin with, it's not advised to give them ketamine because it can cause a psychotic episode. Mm-hmm. We were trying to prevent psychotic episodes.
Yes.
Coffee slurping coming. Mm-hmm. It's interesting. Our journey with...
Some ASMR slurping right there.
Yeah. Our journey through the mental health field on this point,
So what is lithium supposed to do exactly?
Well, it is... Some of the things that they're saying that it can help with is anxiety and depression, but also muscle function.
Okay. So it can help like fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue.
Yes.
Huh. So that may be a key part into why a bunch of people have that.
Absolutely. If it is a nutritional deficiency, it absolutely could.
And earlier you and I were talking about this on the phone, and you were saying that it actually is it does not come from any sort of food or fruit and stuff.
Not
like
that I'm aware of.
Fruit. It's a mineral.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's crystal. Like, as far as hearing, there is a lithium crystal for real.
I think that's how they make.
And it wasn't just Star Trek.
I think that's how they make like lithium ion batteries and stuff like that.
It is, and I would have to look and see if this is a different form. The research that I read was dealing with a lithium salt. And that they had, I read the paper and stuff like that, and there's different forms of it. And
because we know for a fact we are not getting all the nutrients that we normally get.
Our soil is deplete.
Huh?
The soil is deplete because of improper farming practices. Soil.
Okay.
Soil. It's just because that I tried to enunciate, and they threw you for a loop.
Soil.
It's soil.
Soiled it.
And so within that, there's a lot of different things. And as far as trace minerals, there's lots of trace mineral products. That's the reason some people use the Celtic sea salt, and in the Himalayan salt and different things like that, because that they may contain some of these trace minerals. And as far as the sourcing of the lithium, I didn't go down that rabbit hole quite yet. But as far as the difference between the oxalate and some of the other different types of the lithium, because when you go down that alchemy rabbit hole, which is now called chemistry, and it has to do with absorption.
Same thing, different font.
It has to do with the absorbability. And I did say with pharmacist friend, I said, in all these years, have I ever really said anything that was that ridiculous? And he's like, no, because I've got time to research. That is something that I can still do. And they were talking about the oxalate on that one thing, about that can increase absorbability because it crosses the blood-brain barrier. But actually, since it's come out over the past, within the past 5 years or something like that, it may have been more than that, that you have neurotransmitters that are produced in your gut. So it wouldn't have to cross the blood-brain barrier.
Yeah.
Which is why that people's gut health is so important.
Yeah.
And how the overusage of antibiotics and different things like that has just really disrupted the gut biome.
Well, we have neurons in our gut. So
well, and
it
in
makes
the
a
heart.
lot of sense as far as like emotional irregulability,
Absolutely.
whatever the fuck it's called. That makes a lot of sense as to why that's out of whack.
Yeah. Plus some of the other chemicals that are in our foods that are disruptors. And that's just like this push as far as soy. Well, soy is a hormone disruptor.
It is.
I have known that for 20-some years. That's the reason I always told kids, I said, first, never microwave anything in plastic.
No.
Because that can produce xenoesters. We drink things that are stored in plastic because that's how it comes these days. That's not good because those can produce xenoesters. As evidenced by testosterone levels in most Western countries that are just ridiculous.
All those years of microwave pizza on plastic plates.
Well, it wasn't because you weren't warned.
I was a child
I
living at
understand.
someone else's house.
Well, that's where you say, give me glass plate. Give me glass. Give me glass plate.
I was denied glass plate.
Oh, God. Oh, anyhow, these are some of the things that could have gotten us to where we are now. But it also could be a factor in some of the things that we are observing in our world today, such as people's behavior.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that if it is a matter of a nutritional deficiency?
Well, we know that's what it is. That's a huge part of it. Along with the fact that we got how many frequencies messing with our brains.
Yeah. So, within this, we're going to
we're all
try some of this.
Yeah, but we're all nutritionally depleted. Our natural magnetic field is being disrupted.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a lot of interesting things, but that was a kind of a huge rabbit hole that I went down, and it was just like, oh my God. And it may be something and it may be nothing. I've tried so many things for so many years, but it's like, it's nothing that's going to hurt me. That's why I called pharmacists. It's like, hey, and he explained this to me. Am I doing something stupid? And he's like, no. Because if you've got a question, always ask a pharmacist, because a lot of times the doctors, they don't know.
No. So we're going to attempt it. We're going to try it.
And we'll let you know what whether it's good, bad, indifferent.
Because you can get it on Amazon.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a liquid.
It's over counter.
Yeah, it was a lithium, let's say, I can't remember, chloride was what it was, which was a salt. In
Mix
water.
that in with regular salt.
Well, you could, but that would be a different type of, it's a different chemical formula on that stuff. It was the math that kept me from being, working in a lab somewhere. It was. Math and dyslexia, that is a bad combination. But it was just something to ponder. And that there were some of these problems that seem almost insurmountable. What if there are simple solutions? We don't know.
Well, that's the thing. I think there is very simple solutions to a lot of these things, but they don't. Whoever they are, don't want us to know that.
Exactly.
Because they don't want us to be fixed.
They don't want people to think for themselves. They don't want them to be healthy. They don't,
No.
And the gentleman that Russell Brand was talking to, he was talking about as far as healthy people are curious. Mm-hmm. And they ask questions. Well, they don't want people asking questions right now.
No. No, they don't.
It is that same model of public schools. Sit down, shut up, I'll tell you what to do and what to think. Mm-hmm. And some of them are not. We do have, it's interesting right now, because we've got some, for whatever reason, we've got chaos right now. Part of that is planetary alignment.
It is. Very much.
But some of this stuff, it's like, it's interesting, because there were people that worked really diligently to create a problem, and now they have the problem, but they just never thought that the problem would come back and affect them. And it's like, interesting.
Until it does.
Yeah, and it is.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
It's affecting a lot of people, most people.
It is. Well, all of this affects everybody on some level. Unless you are living in a cave someplace, which there probably are someplace.
Probably.
And they probably doing better than the rest of us. Personally, I don't want to go and live in a cave. That does not. I'm a fan of electricity.
Yeah,
it's just a matter of using
back to caveman times.
Using these things properly.
I would prefer not to draw on the wall with sticks and stuff like that.
Although, God love him, Robert Phoenix, he had an experience with the troglodyte, because
troglodyte.
Apparently, you had, for those who believe in evolution, it apparently was selective.
Yeah, and it could have been a violent experience.
God love him. And it's like, Robert is such a good guy.
Yeah.
And it's, you've got people that they think they can go out here and do and say anything and everything and not have any kind of consequences. I think part of that comes from internet culture.
Very much. That does. And it does not equate to real life.
No, it doesn't.
And people have been screaming that for a hot minute. It's like, your online shit stays online.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens when people are chronically online? They lose touch of actual reality.
Exactly. Because it is a totally, when you are interacting with another human being face to face, it's different dynamics.
Very much.
But it's also, in a lot of ways, a more fulfilling and gratifying experience. Because when you talk to someone on the phone, and that includes even as far as FaceTime, that's better than just words on the screen sometimes.
You can't clock out. You can't clock out mentally as easily when someone's in person.
Right. That is true. And it's also when they're not in person, and I understand, because you've got people that are connected across, continents now, that, it's not the same as having a real-time, real-world person that you can go out and have a cup of coffee with. Mm-hmm. And sit and listen to each other.
Right.
And there's so many subconscious nuances that people do and that they pick up on. Yeah. Mm. And you miss all that if so
you do.
We need to encourage that, people doing that again. That was, we were stripped of that for a long time. We're trying to be stripped of a lot of different things. Unfortunately, not allergies. The allergies have been crazy.
God, they've been horrible. I took a sneezing fit after I got off the call with you earlier.
Well, let's see, was that before?
I even sneezed while we were on the phone a few times.
Was that before or after you mowed? That was before you mowed, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was in another town.
Okay. Well, you could have. It's like, hey, give me a break. Brain fog. Brain fog is one of the things that the lithium is supposed to help with.
Yes.
So that would be great.
Mm-hmm.
And then in a totally different thought, It was a matter of, because social media, it's incredible because it is this shifting between tasks so quickly. Mm-hmm. It can be. I don't shift that quickly. I'm very selective. But somebody had shared something. I don't know whether it was real or not. So Kid and I, had discussion about it. As far as preserving deceased relatives in acrylic, to where they were like a coffee table. And now, I don't know if that was an AI thing. You said that you thought that it was a thing.
I thought it was a thing because I swear I've heard this way before AI started becoming a thing.
And it's like, okay, but you said that the acrylic and resin still is porous.
Yes, it is. It may seem smooth to the naked eye, but it is still a porous material to an extent,
which allows decay.
Yeah, it may have slowed the process, but it doesn't prevent it fully.
And this discussion, and I think we've been called ghoulish because we would discuss some of these things. But it's not the first time I've been called ghoulish.
Oh, I thought Google-ish.
No. Well, everybody's ghoulish right now. But why can't bodies be donated for art? And I think they can for a certain type of art. Mm-hmm. That's a cultural thing.
But that's like where people have donated their bodies for science, where family members have donated family members' bodies for science. And they thought, oh, it's just going to be a matter of dissection or something like that. No, they get blowed up.
Well, I think you would have to specify what you would not want done, because even with the explosion, that was beneficial.
Yes, but correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure that the one that I'm talking about in specific, they did ask for dissection, and it still got mishandled, and so the person got blown up instead.
Yeah, somebody's grandmother. I remember that story, and they were kind of horrified to know that she had been used in such a way. Mm-hmm. But sometimes it's best to not know on certain things. It really is.
It's like just someone going out into the woods and then never being seen again. Mm-hmm. You don't know what happened to them, and you don't want to know.
Yeah, it's best to not. Mm-hmm. Some of it, just let it go, leave it. Go ahead, do the grief thing without having to try to recreate the event in your brain, because that will cause suffering.
There are some things that people are just not meant to think about.
Yeah. And that depends on the individual. There are some people that we talked, there were several cups back, about going down rabbit holes. That's where you have to know your limits. Mm-hmm. And that's important to thine own self be true. Know yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you can, and there's things that can, you're like, that bothered me, and I didn't even know that something like that would bother me. Not talking about putting someone's corpse in acrylic. My question on that was, see, that triggered other thought, because this is how my brain works. It's like, okay, if you went ahead and had the person embalmed and then put them in acrylic, and would it have to be, is there a difference between just the resin? Are there different types of resin?
Yeah, there's different grades of resin, just like there are plastics, stuff like that. Well, technically resin is a type of plastic.
Right.
So is acrylic.
But if you did it in the acrylic and then you sealed it, because I know that there are some sealants, would that preserve rather than, or is it just there's no way to stop the decay from occurring at some point?
It may help, but no, there is no definite way of preventing it from happening, unless it's like that museum that the corpses are just sort of blown out and dissected that way and preserved in such a way that...
Well, that was a very specific process that involved, I think, wax and different things. Mm-hmm. It's very intricate.
Wax?
And for me, it's beautiful. Mm-hmm. There are those of us, it's not a matter of being ghoulish. We see the human form as art.
Right. Well, that's a
And-
brilliant way to study anatomy.
Sure it is. Sure it is.
It's a brilliant way to, like, if you want something to be accurate, go to one of those museums and just sketch it.
This is the difference between true goth and those who just wear, the black lipstick.
A goth is just a sense of being.
It is an essence
essence.
of being. It
Yeah.
truly is. So we've gone down all different kinds of rabbit holes in just a very short span of time. So before we go down more, and this gets too lengthy, we'll go ahead and stop here and save the other ponderings for another cup. Mm-hmm. So
You need to watch those people.
I didn't tell the cheese story. I will wait and tell the cheese story for this weekend. So
Story. Okay.
the cheese story, I will wait till this weekend to tell that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it was not necessarily a happy story, and this one has not been morose, so it will end here.
Yeah. Morose. Talking about corpses being blown
It's
up.
not morose. It's
Just
the
like,
body
damn,
is
it's absurd. I donated my grandma. She got blown up.
Well, yeah.
Hey, that's
just
what they
don't
use
think about it.
Like, instead of, like, crash test dummies sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
that's what they use.
Right, because there is
They
nothing.
use corpses instead.
There is no substitute as far as the actual human form to figure out what happens to the actual human form when in an accident or something.
Yeah.
So,
Cars used to not be made as delicate as they are now.
oh, no, yeah. Totally. Is that your final thoughts?
Yep.
Okay. If you've had experiences with the paranormal or supernatural, encounters with UFOs, aliens, cryptids, you can send us an email, cupofcoffeewithscream@gmail.com, and that's there in the description box. I will put references in the description box. Like I said, for those who are on BitChute and Rumble, I will put links with the sources.
Yeah. And if you like this video, don't forget to like, share, comment. Check her out on BitChute and Rumble at Werlanda's Cup of Coffee with Scream. Check her out on Twitch. Not Twitch.
No,
Fuck.
Twitch.
I'm tired, okay?
It's all right.
Check her out on X. Werlanda, COCWS. It's like a radio station call sign. Thank you all for joining us. Have a good... What? You waited.
I'm just sitting here.
Oh, done.
I'm just sitting here.
Damn.
Know that you are
Damn.
loved. Treat other people the way that you would like to be treated. Mm-hmm. And it's like, God love him. Kudos to you, Robert. You handled that situation with grace.
You did.
You really did. Because it could have...
I know it's difficult, but you did good.
Well,
You
he's
did
an
good.
honorable man. So that's why he was able to handle that the way that he did.
Yeah.
And Lord willing, we'll see you on the next cup. Bye.
Bye.